Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and on today's episode we're back on the G35. So we only have a few things left to do on this car. We got to get it done in a short amount of time though. Next weekend we have a drift event that we're going to go to, and it's going to be the G's maiden voyage. Let me show you what we're going to do. So we're gonna do the rear caliper setup, the GKTech dual caliper setup for G35 350Z. Link down into the description. Right now we don't have the full kit, mainly because we were at an event last weekend. We had the kit with us. Somebody actually needed the handbrake and the master cylinder, so I ended up selling that off to them and, you know, saving their weekend. And we have one on order coming, so it should be here in a couple days, I hope. So while we wait on that, we'll get the rest of this installed. We can route all the plumbing, get the brackets on, do all of that goodness. And then when the parts come in for the master cylinder and the handbrake, we can just bolt it in and then bleed it off, and then we'll be good to go. So let's dive in. All right, so we got the wheels off. This thing was filthy. The buckets had like a pound of dirt in it each. There's just crap everywhere, so I decided to pressure wash it and get it clean. It's pretty much left over from so then we'll get the brakes off, pull the rotor off, and then we got to drop the axle. I'm trying to wait for it to dry up a little bit, and then I can crawl up under there to undo the axle bolts. So all right, so we got one side fully disassembled. We're trying to clean it up a little bit. I think we're ready to install the bracket, so let's get that on real quick. All right, I was taking apart the driver's side, and when I pulled the axle out, discovered one of the CV axle boots have been torn, so gotta run to the parts store, go get that, go get a new set of shoes. So I'm gonna run to the parts store real quick, go pick those things up, and then get back at it. All right, so the parts store didn't have a CV boot, so I guess this is the next best thing. So I just picked up a brand new axle altogether. I'll still order a boot for that one and repair it and just have it as a spare, I guess. Cool thing about these is there's a lifetime warranty on them, so even if I break them, we'll just be able to go back to the parts store and get a new one in exchange. So we're gonna do brand new brake shoes for the e-brake. So I'm gonna install those real quick, and then we can move on with the rest of the install. Well, it's kind of a shame that we put those beautiful calipers on there with that ugly rotor, but honestly, there's really no point in changing it, and this car is meant to be like a budget type car, so it doesn't really make sense to go out and just buy some discs for little to no reason other than it'll look nicer overall. It's more about function. With that being said, we have to get the brake lines on, route those up, and then bolt down the bracket and probably cut the hole in the center console for the hydro e-brake. So let's get into that. All right, you guys missed it, but I used this, which is called a knockout. It's so you drill a smaller hole, and it basically has a cutting side. And it cuts a perfectly round hole, and it has little to no edges on it. It's a much better hole than like drilling one, but we still need to put a rubber grommet on it. Fortunately, I don't have any right now, so we're gonna have to just make do with what we got right now. All right, so the e-brake kit came in for the master and the bracket with the handle and everything. I've already kind of started fabbing it up and kind of getting it situated where it needs to be. I decided instead of doing like a standalone setup, I did a pass-through, and then pretty proud of this. Put the reservoir up here in this little thing, little hideaway. Easy to refill, and you know, during bleeding and all that. So pretty stoked on that. I think that looks pretty sweet. So I'm gonna get the rest of this all secure. I got to take this back out, tighten everything up, and then reinstall it. So get on that. All right, so I'm gonna demonstrate the pull on it. I think I can adjust it a little bit because there's a little bit of pull, and then like full engagement's like right there. So I might adjust it just a little bit in the future, but I think this is gonna be fine now. I did drive it around the neighborhood and did a couple little skids with it. It definitely locks up really well if you kind of give it a little shimmy and then kind of throw the car in and pull a little bit. So it works. It locks up pretty good there. It doesn't lock up on a straight line. I don't know if it's just the rotors are glazed over or the new pads just kind of need a little bit of heat into them or whatever. So we're just gonna test this weekend and see how she does. I think it'll get better the more we use it. So very solid handbrake, very short throw. This is kind of the final, I guess, push to get this done for next weekend. So we got first we got Isaiah here, he's helping. We have some gauges we got to put in for oil pressure, water temp. We got the oil cooler, and what else we got? We're gonna try to put some underglow under there, but or some LED lights on it. Oh, and a power steering cooler. So we have a few things we need to get done. So we're gonna double team it. We're gonna kind of divide and conquer. He's going to start taking the front end off, get the oil cooler on, and I'm gonna start the gauges, the bezel for the gauges, and then the wiring harness out to it, and then try to figure out a good place to tap in the water temperature sender. The oil pressure sender should be pretty easy. It should be on the sandwich plate for the oil cooler. So that one's relatively easy. The other thing we have to get done is the cats. We got to put the ISR cats on with new O2 sensors. Hopefully those come in time because I forgot to click buy. So I ordered them the other day and they should be here. So, all right guys, let's dive into the project.
All right, so looking out different ways to mount this. This kit, we just got a little cheap one on Amazon. Didn't come with a bracket. Figuring out a way to mount this. And the first initial plan, maybe subject to change, is use flat bar across this, and then mount this. You know, cut some holes in it and mount these right here. Mount one for oil and one for power steering, and potentially lightweight dimple die holes, and call it a day. So we're gonna slightly modify and add some extra fun dimples. So we're gonna go with the holes here for it to mount through there. Obviously drill some holes to mount it. So we'll dimple those, and then we're gonna add some dimples in between. One in between here, maybe two in between here, two in between here, and have a fun little lighter weight bracket. So I came home real quick, got a little bit bigger drill bit. finish up the holes. Now I'm gonna go over here and use my press to dimple die these holes. Groove nuts. And this one will go in here and mount up just like that.
All right, so I'm gonna start working on getting the bezel done for the gauges. I'm gonna get this ABS plastic in there, cut it to size, drill the holes, get it fixed. So I got the ABS cut. I cut twice, measure once. So I just got to trim it up and kind of fit it. So, and do a little sanding on the edges. Good enough for the girls, I think.
Let this thing cool down a little bit. Woo!
Oh. Looky there, boys.
Yes,
that looks good. All right, so I got the gauges in. I think they look pretty good, if I do say so myself. They're wired up power and ground. I still need to run the wires up to the sensors, but other than that, it's looking good. I can turn on the key. You can see that little, let's do it again, little tick mark. Whoop. Did it move at all? I don't know. Oh, there it did. All right, so it's all working. It really cleaned up this whole area, this gaping hole that was here, so pretty stoked on that. Gonna end up with some crooked mothers. All right, so we got the oil coolers mounted up. They're almost there, but not quite. We obviously got the power steering one mounted. We're gonna have to run the lines. We have the lines mounted for the engine oil cooler. It's ran down there with the sandwich plate on it. We're gonna prime the pump real quick, or prime the system, I guess. We filled up the cooler with fluid or oil already, so it shouldn't take very much to prime it, but Alright guys, so we're on the home stretch of this thing. We've pretty much got everything we need to get done. We got the oil cooler, or the oil cooler and the power steering cooler on. It's bled, nothing's leaking, so we're good there. I did this off camera, put little bumper attachments on it. This bumper's pretty shot, but you know, just something to hold it on. The gauges are in, they're hooked up. One of the last things we need to tackle for this event, so this car is done, is we're gonna throw some ISR performance high flow cats. The cats on here are fine, but one of the ports for the O2 right here, somebody decided to like do a bunch of booger welds on it, I don't know, just to seal it up, I guess. So we kind of decided just to go with something a little bit nicer, a little bit more performance oriented, so we picked up a set of these. I'll put a link in the description. We're also putting 4 new O2 sensors on there because it is throwing codes for O2 sensors, so I figured why not just replace them all. Make sure this thing's running tip top. I know you don't probably need the back ones, but so let's dive into getting those on. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a pretty straightforward job on bolt. All the bolts have been loosened when we did the motor swap a couple months ago, so nothing should be overly rusty or anything like that, so everything should come off all right. So here's the old cats. This one's pretty thrashed. The material is literally just coming out. Not good. And I think this one still has the material in it. No, this one's gutted. So I'm hoping that it's gonna sound a lot better, because this thing definitely in the higher RPMs was kind of annoying. I'm not a huge fan of the way VGs sound or VQs sound. So hopefully this tones it down a little bit, makes it a little bit more tolerable. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Nice fresh cat down pipes. They look fabulous. So fabulous. Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. I jinxed myself by saying the bolts were gonna be not so rusty. Yeah, new fresh O2 sensors, looking fresh. Yeah, so I pretty much jinxed myself by saying that those bolts weren't gonna be hard to get off. They were decently hard. Let's get her fired up and see how she sounds. Clear some of those codes, because it was throwing O2 sensor codes, so we'll get those cleared. Alright, so I think this thing's gonna be good for the event. I did some extensive driving, and you know what I can, because this is the car's not registered, so I got to be very careful of where I drive. And so I'm just kind of like staying on some of the back streets, you know, and I don't want to irritate anybody, but the car is staying pretty cool, so I'm stoked on that. I was having a little bit of overheating issue, and I think it was just air in the system. So and it seems like the gauge was like fluctuating, and that like it was like the air bubbles were like getting pushed through the system. So it's a lot better now. It just stays right in the middle where it's supposed to be. But other than that, I'm just gonna get this thing loaded up, and we got an event this weekend, so that'll be the next video, is how this thing does with all the mods over the last 6 months that we've done. Oil coolers, angle kit, e-brake, everything. This car's come like 180, but it still needs quite a bit. Yeah, I'm gonna get it loaded on the trailer, head out to this event this weekend, and have some fun in it. So all right guys, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.